Hi, I'm Margie Holmes, psychologist, author, and educator. Today's topic is all about the T in LGBT. We got several interesting questions about this topic. So let's start with the most basic question, and that is about definitions. At Senorita Pepe says, how do we define trans woman, transsexual, and transvestite? Now, trans women are those who are assigned as men at birth but identify as women. Trans men are the opposite. They are assigned as women at birth but identify as men. A transsexual is someone who explores hormone therapy and surgeries to align their bodies with their experienced gender identity. In other words, they explore physical means to make themselves look more like the people or the gender that they want to be. Now, a transvestite is a cross-dresser, someone who wears clothing traditionally associated with the opposite sex or gender. And a transvestite may be either straight, gay, or bisexual. And here we are only talking about sexual orientation. So in other words, transvestites may be many other different things, the way, of course, transsexuals, trans women, and trans men can be. But going back to the transvestites, let me share with you the experience of a friend of mine who owned a bridal shop in California. He said his most successful time was after the bridal shop had closed for ordinary customers. At about midnight or after midnight, he had many men coming over, most of them like people you wouldn't expect, truck drivers, construction workers, etc., big brawny men who wore bridal gowns and just sashayed around, looked at themselves in the mirrors, and this was enough for them. Happy na sila, and so they paid money just to be able to do this. Hindi ba cute? Anyway, Victor Hall suggests, can we address transphobia not only coming from the hetero community, but the gay community as well? Now, again, Brenda Alegre, a trans Pinay working at the University of Hong Kong says, thanks, Victor, not only do some heteros frown at transgenders and refuse to take them seriously, but others in the LGBT community too. In fact, trans people sometimes don't accept themselves, either out of fear, out of lack of knowledge, etc. Now, here are some more of your comments. Carlos Gonzalez, I'm bothered when a transgender woman goes into the men's public restroom dressed up like a woman. Shouldn't they go instead to a woman's restroom? If a man goes into the ladies' restroom, I would expect them to get beat up. I worry for the women if a lady boy enters a ladies' public restroom to do their business there. Now, Dr. Alegre says to Carlos, before anything else, please, Carlos, the word ladyboy should be avoided if possible. In many cases, transgender people find it offensive because the term is usually associated with porn and sex work. Some transgenders don't want to consider any internal duality of gender, that is, a lady plus a boy, since many transgenders would rather identify with one gender, that opposite of which they were assigned at birth. Also, Carlos, Dr. Alegre says, continues, trans people wish they could comfortably use their preferred toilets, but their fear is that if a trans woman goes to the female CR, others complain about her, so they're forced to use the men's instead. But please understand, many trans women feel disrespected more in the men's room. They are called names, and it is funny for men to assume they are out there to do boy hunting. A lot of times, this is the last thing that trans women want to do when they are in the men's, toilets. Now, Mitch Ong says, recently, I've seen a TV show segment called Super Sirena that supposedly promote understanding and acceptance of trans women. I worry that such images promote a very specific space for acceptance. Mga super ganda lang ba ang pwedeng irespeto at tanggapin bilang trans women? It feels like the same standards being imposed on women are also imposed on trans women. This doesn't seem like real acceptance of our value as unique human beings to me. What a brilliant observation, Mitch. And you are, of course, right. And it is sad that a TV segment that purports to help others and understand and promote trans women may be doing the opposite by stereotyping them simply as beautiful women with their long black hair and their lithe bodies, as if their physical selves are the only things important about them. This is as much a travesty as shows that have only the beautiful, young, and sexy as heroes and heroines. What that does is undermine the self-esteem and confidence of many teenagers and even adults who do not fit that body type. You know, most of all, it is a damn lie, since we are all different and look different too. Finally, Yomi Artemos asks, what is the best way for trans members of the LGBT community to earn respect and acceptance? You know, maybe this is a question we should ask ourselves, not transgender people, Yomi. Yomi? Sorry, my voice is getting pause. Anyway, I feel this is a question we should ask ourselves because the transgender is more than willing to be accepted, but oftentimes he finds that he isn't no matter what he does. So perhaps the better question is to you, to us cisgenders out there, which is people whose gender that they were assigned at birth is aligned, I would say not 100% necessary, but is aligned with how they see themselves. So perhaps we should ask cisgender people, do you consider transgender people your equal in every way? If not, then what do transgenders have to do before you can accept them? You know, because we all deserve respect, gay or straight, trans or cisgendered. Well, that's it for today. If you have anything to add to the conversation, feel free to leave a comment below. Should you feel bitin, that is, left hanging, about the topic of the T in LGBT, please send in your comments, suggestions, and questions to me on Facebook, tweet using the hashtag AskMargie, or send an email to askmargie@rappler.com. Suggestions for future topics are also welcome. See you next week.